I was able to get my permits this morning, and I'm heading out now on Flack Lake. So I'm disappointed that they don't allow any fishing in here right now. It's closed for conservation reasons. So that's disappointing, but the scenery here is just beautiful. So I just crossed the lake from the original put in. And I'm just really impressed so far. I'm enjoying the solitude. And the beautiful colors of autumn. It's amazing already. Pretty cool the way the plant life makes its way out onto these big rocks. The mountain you see in the distance is Old Baldy. I've been trying to hug the south edge of the lake here so I can get in the shade a little bit. The sun is quite warm today. Well, there's a portage trail and a campsite up here. It doesn't look real easy to access, but I think it'd be a beautiful place to see the sunset. So it'd also be great for the northern lights. So I think the decision was just made to camp here. I need to set up my clothes on a clothesline and start drying them out. I had a little bit of an accident getting out of the canoe here. These rocks are really slimy, and as I went to pull my canoe up, I slid on one that angles underneath the canoe there, and it made me fall backwards. And when I fell backwards, I shoved the canoe out into the lake, and I was able to quick run over here on the point and reach out and grab it as it's drifting by. But in the process of all that nonsense, I got wet. My arms are wet up past the elbow. I landed on my back down in this shallow water there, and so I'm pretty wet. So I'm going to get camp set up here and get some clothes drying and change out of these. So this is the campsite. It has somewhat of a fire pit. It has a deep crack right here in the rocks that you do not want to step in the night. So I'll have to set up. Oh my gosh. And it has it has that to fall in too in the dark. You gotta be kidding me. Anyway, that could be a problem, especially for somebody clumsy like me. But the trees look good for setting up a hammock in here. So I'm going to get camp set up, and then we'll get back out on the lake and do some exploring. That was a quick reminder of how fast things can change out here. I could have lost my canoe on that. If the wind was different, it would have taken it out into the lake and I wouldn't have been able to get it. And I would have had to make my way back around the lake on foot with only part of my gear because most of it was still in the canoe. You always have to be careful. It's like anything can happen. When you're by yourself, it can be a lot worse. So here's the map I'm using of Flack Lake. I put in over here the Mississagi access point, and then I just crossed the lake and followed the shore. I checked out these two campsites. I didn't want anything that close, so I went outside the provincial park and I made it down to this, and this is the one that I fell in the water while I was checking out. So I decided to camp there so I could get dried out. Oh well, it happens, right? I have to admit, I'm a little shaken by that. That was so close to being a disaster. It's like if the wind had been stronger, a little different direction, I would have been watching my canoe go out to sea without me. I got lucky this time. Can't make mistakes out here. You just can't do it. The water appears to be about half a meter lower than its high mark. There's definitely no shortage of rocks around here. So that's the portage over to Bruce Lake. It's 490 meters. That's the trail to Old Baldy. It's like the main mountain. The prominent mountain here. So it's pretty interesting that every time you see a big rock like that, there is like a channel going up to it with, it's almost like when the lake freezes, that the ice shoves these big rocks towards shore. It's like every one of the big boulders has like a channel going up to it. If you know exactly how that happens, feel free to leave it in the comments. I've never noticed it before, but then maybe I'm not that observant. There's another one. Big boulder. And another one. With open deep channels leading up to them. Interesting. Very interesting. That's Old Baldy. Might climb that tomorrow. But right now I am trying to make it back to camp. I'm gonna build a fire, have something to eat, sit back and watch the sunset, hopefully see the northern lights. And I see a duck. But I bet you it won't let me get my camera out. This ridge of rocks is peculiar. It like forms a channel. It reminds me of like a coastal harbor where they put in a break wall. It's very interesting. Kind of punky, but it seems pretty dry. I think it'll burn. I got rice and chicken. Well, it's not trout, but it's not bad. It'll do. Today's been a good day. The weather's been about perfect. Just finishing off a beautiful sunset. I've got the GoPro getting it on time lapse. A loon has been calling out on the lake. I was hoping he'd do it while I was doing this dialogue, but it's not cooperating. Gonna call it a night, get in the hammock before the mosquitoes come out to feed. Hopefully get up bright and early in the morning. There's a chance of northern lights tonight, so I'll set up a camera for that before I go to bed. Set up there to capture sunrise, but there wasn't any because of the fog. Anyway, I just getting a fire going in my little wood stove. Didn't really feel like building a full fire, and I was just going to use my alcohol for the stove, but I decided that these no-see-ums need something to help keep them away. They are sadistic little things. You feel like a little pin poke on you, and you look and you got these little no-see-ums crawling around on you, biting you. Get some coffee going and have some oatmeal with cranberries. Due to the ample supply of no-see-ums, I decided I'd build a fire this morning. Smoke seems to keep them away pretty good. I'm going to hope that the fog burns off pretty soon. In the meantime, I'm taking a walk. This is the portage trail to Monster Lake. This seems to be either an up and over situation or at a lot higher elevation than the one I'm on. So I figured I'd check it out before I'd even try to portage over to it. So that was Monster Lake. It has a beaver dam to the edge of it and a creek coming out with some micro falls on it. This lake has another portage out the back of it. part of the canoe route if you're going to access lake to lake to lake and do a big loop. Making my way back down to camp for the loon. Hopefully I'll be able to get one on camera. So I get back to camp and it is dead calm, like mirror glass water. So I quick have something to eat and get my stuff in the canoe. And as I went to get my butt in the canoe, the trees started to move, wind kicked up, and now it's officially windy. It's not bad wind, but it's just so ironic. Here comes a bush plane. Modern day icon of the North, the Haviland beaver. Looks like you could probably camp on the little island. Cannot seem to find the portage. I've been along here once. I didn't see it. I'm going back now. The other lake is just a couple hundred yards through the woods here to my right. So I see some kind of sign hanging on that tree. There's no words on it on either side. If that's the portage sign that got bleached out, it is nowhere near where it's supposed to be, at least on the paper map that I have. Paper map shows the portage right alongside the outlet. I do not see a trail. It's very disappointing. I wanted to make it over onto Mickle Lake, because from Mickle Lake I can get down to the Wilkie Falls. There's an old sunken ship down there. It's big. That must be what that sign was for. That actually is pretty creepy. probably at least, oh, it's still there. It's huge. It's at least 20 feet down to it. With the water so clear, you can make out the timbers and everything of it. So the portage is, according to the map, it shows a shipwreck in there. And the portage is to the east of it. So I'll look up in here one more time. If I can't find a trail in there, I'm not gonna have enough time to bushwhack. I didn't even bring my saw with me. I left it at camp. This apparently is an active beaver lodge, and 2 beavers. There's one right there. Sorry for the shaky camera, I'm just freehanding it. Both those beavers are right behind me in the water. About 1 o'clock. That was cool. 3 tail strikes. I think I got one of them doing that on the big camera. Just terrible amount of glare. Anyway, the wind is picking up again. I'm going to have to head back to camp. So I've got a long way to paddle. It'd be shorter to cut across. But when I got out there before, I had some pretty good swales starting, and I'm not running any gear in here, so the boat's light and it's a little bit tippy. So I've made it up into a cove. I welcome the fact that I'm out of the wind for a little bit. Really glad I decided to come check out this lake. This is pretty cool. I know in Canada, lakes like this are a dime a dozen, but you know, a lake like this in Michigan is a big deal. We only have a few of them. We're known for our sandy beaches, not our rocky shored lakes. It's getting shallow in here. I can see my camp across the lake, but I'm going to have to follow the shoreline. The wind is just really picking up. It's a catch-22 though. You follow the shore, you have to deal with rocks. You go out in the deep water, you don't have rocks. Going to be unswimmable. Finally on the leeward side of the lake. What a difference. Now that I'm over here, the wind will die down altogether. The sun is getting low in the sky. Looks like I might have a gorgeous sunset tonight. I've got a few chores to do around camp. Just pulling up to camp right now. Ended up paddling over 20 kilometers today. A lot of it was against the wind, so I'm tired. Take care of a few chores around camp and make something to eat, set up for the sunset, and then call it a night. What's up, Toad? So that big crack right there behind my left shoulder, that is where the beaver swims in and out to get into his lodge in the rocks. And that is the rock outcropping that's right underneath my camp. That's my camp right on top of the hill there. These big cracks They're fascinating. Just huge massive rocks with big cracks in them. And I've been noticing when I check them out that I see signs of beavers in them all the time. So it's pretty cool that the beavers use them to build like themselves put their shelter within a shelter, I guess. Last night it was so dead silent that I could hear a waterfall over to the east of me, and so I'm going looking for it right now. And take a little walk up it. See what the waterfall looks like. Doesn't sound as loud this close as it sounded last night. I guess I'll wrap the video up right here. Say thanks for joining me on my little canoe outing to Flack Lake, Ontario, Canada. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to bringing you more videos.